I generally find that developers engage in one of two activities when it comes to making future changes to their code. They either anticipate or accommodate. Anticipating change comes from a good place. It's a place of caring, but it's also quite ineffective and can be very stressful. I spent much of my career trying to anticipate changes before they happened so that my software would be able to handle them if they ever came up. It was a losing battle. Change always comes from a direction you don't anticipate. Anticipating change is no fun. It's fraught with stress, and we know we're going to be wrong at least most of the time, or perhaps just some of the time. Rather than anticipate change, developers must rely on a series of standards and practices that support accommodating change when it needs to happen. This is far more sane, a far more sane way of working. There are several advantages to doing this. First, we're not making changes sooner than is needed. A great deal of developers' time is lost to overbuilding and gold plating simply because they don't know how their code is going to be used in the field. But if they get clear on this by defining a good set of acceptance tests, then they know they can move on when their last test passes. And if they need additional functionality, they can add it to the system later. One of the main reasons developers don't have time to do important things is that they waste their time on things that are less important. I believe that the software development industry must have a series of practices that help us accommodate change. Such practices do exist, but they're not well known. They're not taught in schools. They're not sung from the rafters as they should be. I've devoted much of my life to discovering the core practices that great software developers must possess. What I found is that there aren't very many of them, and that they're easy to learn. But what holds us back is having a shared context for software development. In other words, different developers have different ideas about what software development should be. And because we have different goals and objectives, it's hard for us to get a consensus. By sharing context, I mean, what is the purpose of software development? Or what is our overarching goal? I don't believe just making the computer do something is enough of a goal. We have to also build software that's resilient, that's changeable, that's understandable and straightforward to work with. This is what brings the cost of software development down. Research shows that over 80% of the cost of software happens after the initial release. Given the enormous cost of building software and maintaining it, I believe that the context for software development must be that software has to provide value not only now, but also into the future. In order to do that, in order to provide longevity for our code, we must build software in a very different way than most of us have been building it today. We must build software to be changeable, and we can. The things I wrote about in Beyond Legacy Code, 9 Practices to Extend the Life and Value of Your Software, and I teach in my classes, all support the notion of building maintainable code. It's not hard to do if we pay attention to it. When these ideas start making their way into college curriculums and become part of the body of knowledge of what it means to be a professional software developer, then our industry will really take off. And every other industry will benefit from this as well. Until next time, happy coding.